and you don't know how much opportunity that you're missing. We are here to talk about this painful property.
There are cap outs in certain markets.
Yeah. You still disagree with this inspection report to this day, but
People just don't want to pay over a certain cap.
Yep.
Screw it.
We ended up with a big sorry fat loss of... Hey everyone, and welcome back to Revive and Reveal, the show where we pull back the curtain and show the truth behind the transformation. I'm Brian Daly, founder of WeRevive, and I started the show just because I wanted to show a little bit more about what we do beyond the pretty photos on Instagram. Today, I'm happy and honored to be joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Ettienne Pieterse, and we are... Say that again. What is it? Pieterse. Every time. We're here to tell a story about a property that did not go to plan. We're going to relive the pain, and if you stick around to the end, you'll find out how painful that was. Again, Ettienne is one of my favorite people in the world, and he has been critical to WeRevive's growth over the last 4 years. He has a superpower of connecting with people and creating lifelong relationships, and I'm super excited to have him here today as we relive the pain of Avon Drive in La Mesa. So before we dive into the property, I want to share with the world, a little bit about your story. So if you don't mind, let's dive in.
Cool. Well, thank you for the intro. It's cool to be here, and yes, intro more around like how I got into real estate.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, first, tell us how did your journey begin in real estate, and then how did that journey get to WeRevive?
Cool. I actually had a really good buddy of mine. He's like, dude, I need to talk to you. Let's go for a surf. And he had a plan. He was like, you need to get into real estate. And at that point, I had a really successful event business. And yeah, he kind of just prodded me. He's like, dude, I want you to just get on Bigger Pockets, start listening. We can do some investment stuff together, nice. Blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I literally just fell in love with the real estate here in San Diego, just by listening to all those Bigger Pocket stuff. And I really got into all the lingo and stuff like that. I didn't have a license at the time, but yeah, I fell in love with real estate just from that. And I was still running my business.
Yeah.
Fast forward, COVID, awesome COVID. I remember it clearly, like we're doing a huge event, and the next week we had no business.
For context, what was the event company?
It was like a big inflatable company. We did kid zones, and our biggest contract was the LA County Fair. So they were, we did all their events out there and their big state fairs. So
that's a household grind, man.
It was a grind. Yeah. So I think that's why my buddy's like, dude, I need to take you for a surf, and you need to transition, and you're perfect for real estate. So,
you are too, man. You are.
So that was cool. And you knew my background too. I come from Australia, and I have an engineering trade in electrical and refrigeration. And we started exporting the boats out of Australia to Miami. So I was in charge of, retrofitting the boats to American standards and all the crazy stuff that Americans love. And then, so basically, there were homes on water, and we set up a dealer network. So we had to got into boat sales. So it was like comparables of boats, same thing. 40, 50-foot houses on water, and doing comparables, 4 or 5 boats, and this is the price. So it's kind of a nice transition into this.
Super connected.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate since I was 16.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So then, so you started real estate just on Bigger Pockets. How did you get into actually doing business?
Yeah, thanks. I went off track there. COVID hit, so instead of sitting on my butt, I was like, cool, this is my chance. I'm gonna study and get my real estate license and see what happens. Might as well. I'm not
sitting around,
sit on the couch.
So was it during COVID?
I did all my studies during COVID. I it was a nightmare to get the test, but I finally got it and passed it first go. And immediately when things were still rough, I joined a brokerage, joined a team, and luckily enough, that team had like a acquisition side hustle. Not that I was a part of it, and I freaking didn't like traditional stuff, and I always was gravitating towards that and putting myself in that area and saying, can I come on your appointments? So from the get-go, I just wanted to be on more of the investment side.
Nice.
Yeah, rather than traditional. So.
And is this buddy that got you in, is this James?
Yeah,
okay.
And same buddy introduced me to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome. So thank you, James. Yeah.
James is a good man.
Yeah. So he fast forward again, being in real estate for 6 months. COVID was tough to get started in real estate as a traditional agent. So James saw that like there was opportunity with you, and he's like, I'm going to put you guys together, and here we are.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
so what do you tried traditional real estate, obviously tried acquisitions, fell in love with acquisitions. What do you love about acquisitions?
I mean, I just love the hunt, number one. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm getting really excited. So I don't know, I just love the hunt. I love the people. So I also love numbers. Nice to analyze something. I like older houses that need a little love, and you really use your creativity. Again, like from my boating days and retrofitting boats, like I love just envisioning something. It's really creative. I dig it.
Yeah.
You
get the sales high, but then you get that little creativity part of it.
Exactly. And that also comes in the negotiation side of things too. There's so many different scenarios that need creativity and different problems to solve. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so something that people might not know about you if they don't know you, but if they know you, they really know this about you. But you have a heart of gold. Like internally on the team, we have 4 core values. Our number 1 core value is lead with your heart. And the team votes on the winner, the person on the team that most exemplifies that core value. And I don't know if you've ever lost. Every quarter, you're voted lead with your heart champion. So where's that come from?
Geez, gosh, I don't really like talking about myself.
Oh, I know, but that's why you're here. Make you uncomfortable.
I guess the woman in my life starts with my mom.
Yeah.
And my grandma. She was just a phenomenal woman. My dad left when I was really young, 5-ish, and my mom and I were together, and just through all the turmoil, just her absolute love. Like I never felt that there was.
I know, Mama. Dude, she's incredible. So I can see it.
Yeah, and then my grandma was just an absolute angel. And always I grew up in with a church background, and always had that just love and love people and love life ultimately. So just all comes down to, I guess, love.
Yeah,
being loved when I was really young by really good people. So.
Well, it's obvious when you're obviously interacting with the team because they vote for you. But I'm pretty sure every partner that knows you feels the same thing.
Thank you.
So part of that lead with your heart value is a passion for what the purpose of WeRevive is. To revive the world one home at a time. Where how does that resonate with you?
Huge, massive. Always is. Being so busy and being an entrepreneur, like you want to do more in regards to like volunteering and making a difference, the philanthropy side of things, but ultimately there was no time.
Yeah.
That's why I love this, because I just everything that we do, the percentages go back into helping the way we do the Baja Bound builds and the San Diego Rescue Mission. So when I wake up in the morning, I go to work, I don't have to have that like, oh, now I've got to go volunteer, even though we do, but I just know that what I'm doing and the money like I'm generating is going into that automatically. So that's cool. I really dig that. Yeah.
I actually never asked you that before, and it's actually cool to hear your answer. That's good. All right. So, well, thanks for sharing your story and being vulnerable about all that. We are here to talk about this painful property.
You'll go great acquisition manager. Got you. Good.
Well, this is not on you, but anyway. All right. So, what was your first impression of this property? So the address is 4326 Avon Drive, and it was a monster. It was a monster. 4,282 square feet in La Mesa. It came to us as a 4.4 with a 2-car garage, and it was built in 1961. So those are the cheat sheet stats I had here. So what was your first impression?
Opportunity, right off the bat. I mean, the house is super old, dated, and green carpets, pink bathrooms, blah blah blah. The layout was wonky. There was a big wall as you in the front door.
You hate those big walls. When
I
you're
hate
walking
those.
by.
Like me, if anyone knows me, I'm like all about open the door. What wall can I remove, and what sightline is there to a backyard or a view or a pool or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that excited me right off the bat because there were massive views there.
Yeah.
Massive. So yeah, just opportunity, and also that it was intriguing because there were so many different ways that house could have gone. The downstairs portion, it had the little like ADU on the side.
Yeah.
But then it also had a ton of unfinished space downstairs that was unpermitted. So again, the creativity was like, you could do a gym, you could turn it into just another level of the home.
I remember how many conversations we had about this as a team. Like, what do we want to do with this thing?
Exactly. So it was cool to like know that the opportunity was there to do so many different things. We didn't have to decide on the spot. I just knew thought I knew. There was something there, and it was an exciting project. Yeah.
So a lot of people that watch this aren't as familiar with the business as we are. So how did this property get to be on your radar? How did it come about?
Short answer was just a relationship I had with a referral partner. It actually, the history of the property was on an MLS.
Okay.
It struggled to sell for a long time. And then our referral partner had eyes in it because they loved that area, and it was one of the biggest homes in the neighborhood. So anyway, they just kept on it over, I think it was a period of 6 months. It fell out of escrow a couple times. They got roped through some escrows by wholesalers.
Yep.
And then so our referral partner, their group actually does their own remodels as well. So they were going to take this one up. When they walked in and saw everything we know, it was a little too much for them to handle. So they just brought me in.
Yeah.
And we were the only ones there, which is fantastic. And they had already negotiated everything. The price seemed right, but ultimately, just a relationship and something that they didn't want to flip themselves in the end once they did all the numbers. And we were their next call.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. Sometimes, we're lucky to have some good relationships with other operators in the local market that does that. So, so the project was too big with them, but they were dealing with a listing agent on the other side, or were they seller direct?
No, they were dealing with an agent. So
the agent.
We were insulated from the seller.
Yeah.
I didn't really know the seller's story.
Other than it's just been on the market for a long time.
And they just had a rough time. Yeah. They were ready to close.
So I have a question on here that we didn't touch on this last time when we did a show. So I figured I would answer this part. But how did we finance the project? So we financed the project very similar to how we finance most of our projects. The first financing, we have a relationship with a Wall Street backed hard money lender. They're called hard money, but their rates and terms these days are pretty dang good. So at the time, our rate was 9.5%, and we bought this property for $1.05 million, but they lent us $1.2 million. So 9.5% of $1.2 million. And we had a second deed from a private investor. It was roughly $300,000 at 15% preferred. So that was our financing stack on this property. Sometimes we do joint ventures, which you're familiar with with our JV partners on our investors. But this time it was just a 15% flat annual rate of return, which I'm thankful for because in the end of the day, they still made their money. But yeah, so we can move on now to the big ESPN screen and go show the actual photos of what we're talking about, of what this property looked like before, and start talking about what we did.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right, we're back. We're back in front of the big TV.
Yep.
Ettienne's going to take charge here. We call him Et, by the way, because of that name. Who can say that name?
Pieterse. According to Brian.
But look at that beautiful dimple, too. So Et's going to take charge here, but I got the clicker. So.
Cool. Awesome. The fun part, the revival, or AKA transformation. Mr. Brian, done over 600 properties in his career. So, this is the fun stuff, HGTV. So yeah, ultimately, what was the house? What kind of condition was it in? What did you see when you walked in?
Well, we're just talking about this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't walk into this property, so I got all this from our team. So sometimes we buy properties, and I don't need to see them anymore. But I got really good notes. This is that view that you were talking about just a second ago. I mean, this is what we felt like was going to sell this property. But this is, I mean, unfortunately, a terrible day for taking photos. But you could see very, very far off in the distance. But it was, a mess, but structurally sound. But like you said, very chopped up from a layout standpoint, really dated from an update standpoint, and just a lot of walls that made no sense. There's the pink tile that we were talking about before. 1960s built, and no real updates to any of the major finishes before then. The kitchen had, which we don't have a good photo of, I think, until we get into the renovation photos, but the kitchen had upper cabinets just hanging from the ceiling, blocking the view. It was awful. So going into, this is when we started our renovation here. We ended up doing quite a bit of framing and reworking in the layout. You can see we have a lot of photos of open walls, and I mean, we took down, I don't know, a good 25% of the walls in this place and then reworked them. Our budget for this property was $235,000, which is actually pretty light for 4,200 square feet. But we made it go a long way. That right there, I believe, is the kitchen location, right? Yep. Anyway, you have the questions. You keep going.
No worries. Yeah, so I mean, you kind of just touched on it there. This house is over 4,000 square feet. From the original plan, it obviously, it took different shapes and forms as we got into it, which is kind of cool. So do you remember anything that was a huge headache that popped up that we didn't account for, or?
No, to be honest, talking to the team about this property, I mean, we went into, there was a lot of planning up front into what we were going to do. So at the end of these rental slides, I've got the floor plans. But a lot of what we originally planned to do, we did. And there wasn't much of a change in the scope once we got into it. Other than, they made a note here that we added, downstairs was one laundry room, but it's a big old house, lots of bedrooms. We ended up with 6 bedrooms. So we ended up making a second laundry room upstairs. It was an addition to the scope, but there's been a lot of pivots, usually, especially when we lose money on a property. You have a lot more surprises in construction. This one, we didn't have a lot of surprises in construction. It was, we'll get into it more when we talk about the sale, but it was mostly on the analysis up front of what we thought the property was going to sell for.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you can see here the photo, the kitchen's starting to come together. This, which you aren't going to be able to see very well, hopefully in edit they can blow this up a little bit, but it's blurry as it is. But there was a lot of chopped upness in this layout. So you walk in and here's that wall that Ettienne mentioned that he hates, when you have a sight line directly into a wall. We talked about this on our first episode too, where we always try to get that sight line out to the back. And then you have a lot of funky bedrooms that are, just make no sense. I mean, this bedroom right here is, it needed a lot of work. And then downstairs was just a maze. So this is what the layout was before, but again, I know that's hard to see. This is a little bit easier to see. We ended up, like I said, doing a lot of different framing. This right here is the front door. As you can see, it was opened up, put a lot of money into that kitchen. The bedroom that I mentioned was really funky. We turned into 2. And then our primary bedroom was in the back with a giant closet. And and then our master bedroom up here. This is the main level. This is technically the second floor, but this is, you walk into the second floor. These stairs go down, oh, wrong way, go down into below. You come out here, and then this is where, it was part of the original plan. It wasn't a scope change, but it was, we added this as a separate living area, and it was set up with another kitchen when we bought it, but it wasn't set up as a private living space. They had it all connected.
Yeah, with a private entrance.
We made that the one-bedroom ADU, and then we added another bedroom downstairs, and this giant living room, and then we had a second living room that I think we staged as a living room, but it could have been used for a lot of different things. So we call it an auxiliary room. So anyway, that's what we ended up with. And these are the fun before and after photos. So this right here is the downstairs living room before, and then this is what it looked like afterwards. Props to Kayla on our team. She always does amazing on our designs, picking out our finishes. There is that closed off kitchen we talked about with the uppers blocking the view. And then there is our open kitchen concept that we ended up with. And then this is that downstairs, not secluded or separate kitchen we turned into the ADU kitchen, and that is what that looked like. And then there is our master bathroom before and after. And then the yard before.
I was going to say that to being such a tiered slope lot, you actually had the big views from the bottom level
Downstairs
as well,
too.
which is another thing that kind of got me very excited.
Yeah,
It's like,
and it also ended up turning. This is one of the hardest things about the resale, right? We only had a deck up top and then a patio down below. Yeah. Not much else usable, and unfortunately, that was one of the main drawbacks we had when we went to go fade. Which
yeah, I think we definitely got really excited about the view and downgraded the fact that there's no freaking yard. There was that bottom tiered yard, but I mean, you got to walk down.
Yeah,
stairway to heaven to get there.
I wrote that down, which we'll get to later. But anyway, so we ended up, our budget was $235. We ended up under budget, which is surprising again for a property that that didn't go to plan on the numbers side. Usually that has to do with surprises in construction, but budget was $235. We spent $220, just a little bit less than $229.
Yeah. Would you have done anything different?
Yeah.
Now looking back?
Oh, not much, but yes, looking back, we lacked on a property this size, on a home this size without a yard. Mm-hmm. In San Diego, a couple things sell a house, right? Kitchen sells a house, the master bathroom sells a house, and the yard sells a house. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a yard, right? So we should have spent more money on the master bathroom. The master bathroom, I won't go back, but it left a lot to be desired. When we do a house like this, of this size, usually we have a party shower or a tub. And in this case, we just had the standing shower, a dual vanity, and it wasn't that large. Mm-hmm. I think we made too many bedrooms upstairs. Mm-hmm. We could have used one of those bedrooms and made just a magical master bathroom. I think that would have made a big difference on the resale. I also think we spent money trying to make it look like they had a usable yard, but I think everybody saw through that. Exactly, yeah. And I think we could have used that money elsewhere.
Yeah. That was for the Redfin photo.
Yeah, the Redfin photo, right? Yeah. So these are our listing photos. Again, there's that view. But moving on to the sale, I mean, this is where the pain came in. Mm-hmm. So for top line overview, our ARV on this property when we analyzed it was 1.65 million. Again, we bought it at 1.05. So we listed it at 1.699. Now, there was no comps, right?
Well, there were, but they were like
1,000 square feet smaller.
Yeah. So we were just, I don't know, just shooting for the stars with the extra 1,000 square feet.
I mean, one would think, and again, this
And we
is-
thought we were being conservative on the shot too.
we did.
Yeah.
One would think 1,000 square feet was worth. Our highest sale comp at the time was 1.6 million. One would think it was 1,300 square feet smaller, and didn't really have much of a yard either. It had a little bit of yard though.
Yeah.
And you know, just a little, you know, $100,000 more for 1,300 square feet in an ADU. But
That's interesting, huh? Because it's almost like there are cap outs in certain markets.
Yeah.
That could have been it. It's like people just don't want to pay over a certain cap.
Yep.
Screw it. Excuse my French, but-
I've got 1.7 million. Do I want to be in La Mesa without a
Yeah,
yard, or do I want
exactly,
to be
yeah.
in a different neighborhood? So this is how we went out. It showed really well. All of the feedback that we got from buyers seeing it said they loved it, minus the yard. And so we sat for a while. We had good showing volume.
Do you remember what the buyers were saying, what the feedback was?
All positive. The biggest feedback negative was the fact that we didn't have a yard. So yeah, we sold this in 2024. Market was better in 2024 than it is this year, 2025.
Great.
But it sat for, you know, we ended up, total list of sale was 154 days. We started at 1.699, and you know, it was month after month. We ended up, it took about 3 months to even get an offer. We dropped it from 1.699 to 1.649 to 1.599, and then we started getting activity when we hit 1.549, and we actually had multiple offers at that point.
So other than the price, dropping the price, were there any other strategic moves you made on the listing? Anything like?
We didn't make any changes to the property because we weren't getting any negative feedback to the property. But we had a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath main home and a 1-bedroom, 1-bath ADU. We were all in from expense side of things. You know, I bought it for 1.05. We were all in after financing costs by the time for about at this time at about 1.4. I thought for sure we could rent this thing out.
I remember that.
Yeah, I thought for sure we can rent this thing out and at least cover our financing costs and then just hold on to it. And you know, if I can find a property here in San Diego where the rent at least covers the financing costs and the hold costs, and I would take it and hold on to it for a while. We tried renting it out. While it was listed on the MLS, we tried renting. We listed it out for a rental. We started high, hoping again for a 3,500 square foot main home. We thought we can get north of 8, but in the end, the market told us no.
Yeah,
market told us no.
Yeah.
So while we were trying to sell it, we also tried to rent it out. Had we rented it out and were able to achieve the $10,000 a month or more in rental income, we would have held on to it.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, you know, the home showed really well, but when we got down to 1.55 million, we started getting offers. And unfortunately, this is where a problem came up that we didn't expect. And you can see here these decks. We did not build these decks, but we went under contract, I believe, right around 155, and that buyer did an inspection, and we still disagree with its inspection report to this day. But they had their inspector called out these decks saying they need to be rebuilt. Now we didn't build the decks. But we had inspected them very closely, and they were solid as a rock.
Yeah, they were Trex decks too.
Couldn't figure it out. What they never really explained what was wrong, but that created a kind of a spiral effect too, from the standpoint of had we closed it with that offer, we would have made a little money.
Yeah,
but now we had this report in the inspection report saying these decks had to be replaced. We had to disclose that. And it, again, kind of turned into a little death spiral. So 155 quickly turned into 1.499 with a $45,000 credit. That is where we ended up selling this sucker at. $45,000 credit was to handle that for the buyer to assume the deck, and I'm pretty sure to this day the deck is still the same.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with disclosure reports. So, yeah. Any other questions on the sale part?
No.
Okay.
Covered everything there. Yeah.
Well then.
So how many escrows did we end up going through before we got the buyer?
2 until we got the final. So we went into escrow twice, and then we ended up with the final buyer, the 3rd escrow. Fell out twice. So the painful part. Here are how the numbers break down. So I said earlier 1.05. I was a little bit off. 1.075. If you look at these numbers, and we tend to do this too. When we research competitors, we're like, what do they buy for? What do they sell it for? And then we try to assume what the costs were to kind of figure out how it went. If you look at these numbers, 1.075 and selling it for 1.5, if you look at that on paper, it's like, that was a good project.
Yeah.
But then you look into all of the other costs that go into it. $228,551 was our final rental cost. Our buying expenses and our financing costs were just over $150,000. Our selling cost with that $45,000 credit was just under $100,000. So our total cost of the project was $1.558491, with the final sales price of $1,499. So you can do the math. We ended up with a big, fat loss of $58,492.
This is what a star acquisition manager will get for you guys.
So the way we work our property, he kids, but the way we work our process is he's suggesting that we buy a property, but we put it through a diligent underwriting process before we make a decision to buy. So by no means is Ett responsible here. We all reviewed this property. We all decided to buy it. And ultimately, across the board, executed well, other than the assumptions that we made during the underwriting. I will make a note on our financing costs here. Our investor came in with $300,000 and change. So part of our financing costs, they still made $31,497 on their interest expense. So regardless of our loss, our investor was made whole on their investment plus the interest.
And our referral partner, we ended up doing $5,000 up front, and then they were willing to just go on the ride with us because the numbers are so tight. So they were going to be cut back in if we had hit our ARV, and it would have been pretty healthy. But unfortunately, at least they got $5,000 too. So,
Yep.
Yeah, just us that lost.
So ultimately, why did we lose money? Holding time for the financing. Again, we had I think 90 days in our pro forma to sell it. We ended up taking 154. That hold time, for a project of this size, our holding costs are per day probably around $700. So every day that goes over is just $700 leaving the account, so to speak, of this property. So that hit hard, and then obviously we missed our ARV by if you factor in that credit, we missed our ARV by $200,000. So the fact that we got out of this with only a $58,000 loss is somewhat of a blessing. Some lessons that I think I can from this, right, that we can pass on to anybody that's stuck with us.
Don't buy the biggest house on the hill.
Don't buy the biggest house on the hill. No, you can.
No, you can.
But when we buy properties, whether they go well or don't go well, we have a system that we use internally called a PDR. It's a plan, do, review. And we sit back, look at the assumptions we made and the execution that we did throughout the property, and we figure out what went right, what went wrong, what can we do better next time, what can we learn from this, what can we implement in our systems and processes. So one thing that we took from this is when we're in a situation like this and the highest comp is, let's say 1.6, again, we're not going to use a value higher than 1.6. If that's the highest comp that we have available to us, we're, especially in an area like La Mesa, we're going to stick with that as a max, as a cap for the value that we're going to factor in on the. If we do better, great. But what we learned is that just because it's bigger and nicer doesn't mean someone's going to be willing to pay that. The other thing that we learned in our analysis here is like if we had our value at 1.6, we should have listed it at 1.599. We listed 50 grand over our ARV, trying to get greedy. And I think had we listed this at 1.599 with an ARV of 1.6, and we had done that master bathroom instead of that 6-bedroom, I think this thing would have sold probably the first couple weeks. And just those small little tweaks made made $150,000 swing in how the project turned out. What did I hit? What did I miss there, Ed?
Well, that was the execution. What we would have done. What did it teach us in the team and the company in a whole? Any other big lessons that came from it?
Well, it's always painful to lose money, right? We can have the biggest wins in the world, and the high from that is relatively small compared to how much it does hurt and the mental battle that goes into when we actually lose money. But it is part of the thing that we do. A lot of people wonder about the numbers, which is why one of the reasons why I want to do this show, to show like there's a lot that goes into this. There's a reason we have to pay a certain amount for the property in order to make it work.
And then, obviously, somebody has to do this work, right? So it keeps our guys busy, projects, and then.
Yeah. I mean, there's always good sides to what we do, regardless of the numbers. But we can't do this unless we make a little bit of money to pay everybody, right? So we're a lot more conservative on what we look at, especially when it's the biggest house on the hill. But other than that, you can't be in this business. There are going to be times when you lose money. I remember a quote from a guy that was a lot smarter than me and a lot more experienced than me when I was getting started. And he said, if you're making money on every property, then you don't know how much opportunity that you're missing. When you're doing properties like we do, when you're doing a business like we do at scale, if you're not losing on 10% of your properties, you're not pushing hard enough. And that is something that has always stuck with me. I don't want to lose on 10% of the properties we take on, but you have to be comfortable with taking a step back every once in a while, pick up, learn from it, pick up the pieces and keep going on. You can't play scared. But it is, I will say that can be painful if you don't have a lot of other properties that are going well at the same time. And you're not well financed. That can put you out back on the street pretty quick. So, regardless of losing, every flip has a story, right? Every project has lessons in it, and we learned a lot from this one. Not everyone ends with a win on paper, but we're in this game because we love it. We love reviving homes. We love working with the San Diego real estate market.
Go-getters.
Go-getters. And the lessons just make us better. So hopefully you guys took something from it. Thanks. Join us next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, bye.